There are many tools that will help you to collaborate with students in a remote learning environment. The tool we're going to talk about today is one of those tools, and this one's called Whiteboard.chat. So a couple of things to note here before we actually open up a whiteboard is I want to point out here at the top that they do offer a lot of webinars to help you to learn this chat. So I would encourage you to take a look at that so you can register if you would like to dive into this in a little more detail. The other thing I'd like to mention is when we come down here to this blue link, we have three options that pop up here: start teaching, start collaborating, and manage boards. So manage boards just means go to any saved past boards that I've worked on. Start collaborating is where students will all work on a single board together to add content. Start teaching is a bit more traditional in that there's a teacher board, and what is put on that teacher board is pushed out to students, and they have their own individual boards. So we're going to go that route, and we're going to dive in a little bit deeper to these options that we have. I also want to mention here that you do not have to create an account to use this tool. However, if you want to save boards, then you will need to create an account. So once we get inside of Start Teaching, I'll show you where you can do that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click here to Start Teaching. Now, when I do that, I'm brought to an area here where I can see a blank board. You can see that I have an avatar up here in the upper right hand corner because I am logged in, but if you do not have an account, you can click the area up here and create your own account. And it will also, if you try to do certain things, it will let you know that you do need to create an account, and it can walk you through that. I'm going to go ahead and name my board up here just so that I am saving under a specific name. I'm going to call this Tutorial Practice. All right, now right off the bat, I just want to show you the basics. So down here in the lower right-hand corner, you will see your name. You can actually change that if you would like to. So as students log in, they can change their name here to a number if you prefer to keep them somewhat anonymous, or they can come in and make some modifications there. This is also what color, the box right here, that your pen is. This also will change the color of your tools over here. You can see that they're black right now. Here is your pen thickness. So obviously as you scroll to the right, it will become thicker. You can see here's my pen, and then if I make it thicker, there's thicker. You can also see this is my how opaque the drawing is, and this is a sliding bar as well. This is text size, so you can move this. Obviously right now I'm at 4, I can go up to 12, and if I decide to type in text, this will change depending on what I was clicked on. So if I pull this back down again and I click, now it's smaller. Notice that I just double clicked inside to make text. So that's this area down here at the bottom. You also have a couple of other options over on the right here. This is a dashed pen. If you wanted to turn that on, it would be a dotted line. This is a highlighter that you can turn on to highlight text. And this is if you wanted to change your font style. And we've got a couple of different options here if you wanted to change what that font looks like. Okay, so that's in the lower right-hand corner. On the left are a whole host of tools, and I want to pause here for a second and say this. The developers of this tool are constantly, and I mean constantly, adding and modifying this tool. So if you're not seeing something exactly the way you're seeing it in this tutorial, they may have made slight modifications. For example, they're constantly adding tools over here on the left to make this tool stronger for educators. They take feedback on a daily basis from educators and continue to improve their tools. So again, if you're seeing some things over here that look slightly different on your end, it just means that they are making this tool stronger. So I will go through the basics, but again, keep that in mind. Okay, so starting with these 3 lines up at the top, we can expand that area so we can see these tools in a more expanded way. Make that smaller. Notice it just gave us kind of the names and it sort of explained it a little bit. This is a refresh. Obviously it'll refresh your page if you've made changes. Managing your boards is the area where you will find all of the boards that you have saved in the past. So that's how you get to your saved boards. Let's go ahead and go back. This will allow you to turn on specific grids, so you can it's sort of a background. So I'll just show you a couple of these. A grid would look like this. A big grid obviously looks larger, and there are also different kinds of, I'm going to use air quotes, paper that it can look like. This is if you want them to practice handwriting, college lined, and so on. So I'll let you take a look at those as well. This will get us back to the home page if we wanted to. We can clear everything. This will clear the whole board for everybody. There we go. If we want to download our board, that's what this option is for. This is our book. It'll allow us to manage it, which means that we can do a few things here. We can clear all the pages. We can export our board, import another board. This is sort of managing this book that we are in. And I should have mentioned down here at the bottom, you can see this page 1. If I wanted to add a new page, I would click on to the right, and this is all adding pages to our book. Okay, I'm going to jump down here a little bit and show if we had animations going on the page, this would pause them. This will allow us to add in media. So we can add in a webcam photo and add in a video or audio. They are just what they sound like. And this is also helpful if you wanted students to add in a webcam photo of work they have done to show you on their screen. They can actually hold up their work, take a webcam photo, assuming they have a webcam on their device, and put it on the board. This is helpful. It allows you to move and resize objects on the board. I'll show you that in just a second. To select an object, if you want to do something to it, I'm going to skip over this for just a second because there's a lot under here. Upload a file. This is particularly helpful if you want to bring in a file from outside into this environment. For example, you might bring in a PDF that you want students to work on. You might bring in an image. You might bring in really anything that you have on your computer that you want to display in your whiteboard. So let me bring in something and show you. All right, now what I brought in here was an image. And you can see this is actually a exercise that I want students to do. And this is just a proofreading piece. So I found this from a free website and I brought it in here to use in my class. So I did that again by uploading a file, right, by clicking this button. You can see I can draw here. I can draw just like I was doing before. I can erase. One handy tip is if you right click, you can erase always where you are. So you can see I can draw with my left click and erase with my right. Okay, this is if you want to draw a text box, you can do that by clicking that option there. And this last one is a lasso. It allows you to grab several items together. All right, now I skipped over tools because there's a lot inside of here, and I'm just going to show you some of the things inside of here. This will allow you to draw a line, arrow shapes, and so on down. If you look, you can add in a YouTube video from here, a website, a compass, some math items, a table, and so on. There's a lot in here. And again, this is the area where the developers are making a lot of additions to it on a pretty regular basis. So you may see something slightly different, but I want you to see that there's a lot of tools inside of here that you could use with your class. Okay, so I have shown you how to add in a few items. I'm going to actually add a new page here. And I want to show you another area that could be helpful. In the upper right hand corner, there's quite a few things here, but I want to go here to where it says, where it looks like a canvas palette, an artist palette. If you click here, you can see that there are a host of objects that you can add into your screen by clicking them. So for example, if I click on math, you can see that I have a lot of math items here. If I click on the divide symbol, it becomes on my page. I click and drop it where I want. If I wanted to move this, that's where I would click on the move and resize. Click it, move it where you want. So there's a lot of options inside of here, more than I can certainly go over in this tutorial, but I would encourage you to take a look at this. Here's another one I like a lot, US currency. This is easy to do, to set up students to do an exercise. So if you want them to make change for something, you could bring out a dollar bill You could bring out some coins, drop them, and let's say we'll bring out that one too. All right, let's say I just added one that I didn't mean to, so I can get out my erase tool and get rid of it. Okay, the other area that's kind of neat is down here at the bottom. You can go to where it says Widgets. If I click on Widgets, there's a couple of really cool things you can do here. There's a clock, but I really like this spinner, and I like the super dice. So a spinner is helpful if you want the kids to spin and then create, sorry about that, let's say you have a dollar amounts here. You want them to spin and then create those dollar amounts here. So you can adjust these. Let's say I want to add in some additional dollar amounts. So you can see what numbers I have here already inside of here. So let's say I want to say $1.25. These are the colors that would be represented inside. The first one is your color of the spinner, and the second is the text color, and they give you that up here at the top. So if I add in now, I want them to know what 25 cents is. That's enough for just our changes. So you see how it updated here? Students would see this on their side, and they would hit spin. And it would give them something that they need to work through. I'll show you a couple of examples of how you can use this in just a second. The super dice is cool too. I'm going to pull my super dice over here by moving it over here. This is similar in that they would roll, and then it would give them, in this case, a fraction that you might want them to show you that they know how to make that fraction. This can also be modified by clicking right inside of there and putting whatever fractions you want in there. All right, so I have shown you how you can add these to your screen. Let me show you a couple of other really important things. So let's say you have everything set up the way you want, and you want to invite students into your board. What you do is in the upper right-hand corner, you can choose to invite. Now, when you click that, it's going to give you several ways to invite people in, including a classroom code. If you notice back on our Whiteboard main page, there was an option there where students could put in a code. That's that code. But maybe a simpler way is to just grab this URL and allow and post it somewhere where students would be able to access it. So if you're in a Zoom or a Google Meet session, you could put it in the chat. You could also post it inside of something like Google Classroom or in Canvas or Schoology or any kind of learning management system that students might be using. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and copy this, and I'm going to split screen here and show you what a student will see on their side. Okay, now what you guys are seeing on the right side here is my student view, and it's asking me for my name. So I'm going to call this Test Student 1. And I'm going to choose Set Name. All right, now you can see here I am as a student, and I am seeing exactly what the teacher is seeing. Go ahead and close that. And on my side here, I can go ahead and start making my proofing if I wanted to do the exercise on this page. As a student, notice here's my name. I can change my color of my pen. Let's say I want to work in red. Okay, again, notice the tools were all are changed now, and my border is now red because I chose red as my pen. I can make this thicker if I want, but I can go ahead up here and I can say, I'm going to put a circle around this because I know this is wrong. Okay, so I can go ahead on my side and notice that my changes here are not being changed on the instructor side because this is my copy of it. So I can go through here and I can make all the changes I want. I can write things if I want. This is just on my side. Now, on the instructor side, I can see that my test student is logged in right here. And what I can do, if I wanted to see what all the students were working on, I can click this button down here that says Grid View. When I click on that, I can see my view and my students' view. So I can see all of my students as they continue to log on and they work on their work. One of the cool things I can do too is I can click on a board and I can say I want to join that board. So I can join the board, and now I am seeing my students' work here, and I can make comments. Notice on the student side, you can see I've got a cursor that's moving and my name is on there to let them know I'm on their board. So let's say they're doing a great job here and I want to come up here and I want to give them a sticker that says good job. So let's see, maybe I'll come down to reward and I'll give them a little trophy and I'll stick it there to let them know they're doing a good job. And I could type things in there. I could do all sorts of things. When I'm done working with this student, I can go back to my instructor here. And now I'm back on my own board. And the other thing I can do that's pretty neat is if I go back to my grid view, one of the options when you click on a student here is to choose to showcase a student, which means that this student's doing such a great job that I want to showcase and push this student's work out to everybody. And they will not see the student's name, but they will see their work. So if I'm using as an example, showcase is a great way to do that and push out that student's work onto everybody's screens. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this and go back to my single view here. Okay, a couple of things I want to show you before I give you a good example of a way that you could use this with different curriculum. Over on the student side, you can see that they can raise their hand if they have a question. It's up here in the upper right-hand corner. If I click on that and choose to raise hand, I will get an alert on the instructor side that says student 1 needs help. Okay, or they need me for some reason. So I can click right here and I can go to that student's board and then help them with whatever they need. I'm going to go ahead and click to go back to the instructor again. All right, now I'm back on the instructor side. So again, there's a lot that can be done to push out exercises for students and then check their work by going to the grid view and seeing how everybody is doing, joining their board or showcasing a student. Now I want to pause for a second and pull up another example and show you a few things that you could do curriculum-wise in your classroom. Okay, now here is just one example of a few things I put together on different boards that students, I would want students to participate with me. So this is the first screen and it says, before we get started, how are you feeling about today's lesson? Sort of a check-in. Feel free to use text, stickers, or drawings. So students would do that on their side, and again, I could check in with them using grid view. If I go to the next page, you can see this one uses a tool that this has built in that is a checker. So this has a couple of fill in the blank options where students would write in their answers and I can actually check to see how they did, and it will show them on their screen if they got it right or not. How I would check for those once I know everybody is done is these 3 dots in the upper right hand corner. You can see where I can choose autocorrect all the boards. Now I don't want to get too detailed here, but to tell you that this is a text box, if I right click on this, one of my options is to add answers and points. So I have this worth 2 points and the right answer right here. So I could set up text boxes on anything. This was just an image I brought in of a map of the United States, and I set up 2 text boxes that have actual correct answers. So students will type in their answers rather, and then I can autocorrect them. All right, the next example is a math example. So here's that dice that I had that I showed you. Students can roll it, and then I want them to use this grid to show me what 3/4 look like. Or maybe you roll and you get 1/2. I was able to set these up with whatever fractions I wanted by clicking on those 3 dots and putting in my fractions and whatever color I wanted that dice to be. My other example over here is using that spinner, where I want them to use these manipulatives of 100, 10, and 1 in order to make a number. So I'm going to go ahead and spin, and let's say they got 132. So what they would do is they would drag these down into this area to represent that. Now, in order to allow them to drag, what I needed to do is once I right click on this, one of my options is students can clone. It says cannot because I already turned it on. What that means is that students are allowed to drag and make their own copies of it so that once they move it, there's still one up there. So what cloning does is it allows them to basically move it and make another copy of that object to represent what they want down here. So this was just a math example. And the last example here is, oh, I'm sorry, there is 2 examples. This was what I showed you guys before, where they could correct mistakes by using this guide, and they would just use their pen to make these corrections. This would obviously be a language arts example. Lots of things you could do with this. And the last page was just kind of an exit pass where I used the lined notebook paper option here under grids, and I would want them to either type or write these two answers to these two questions. Now there's so much you could do, you guys, with this. I showed a map example, so that's more of a social studies example, a math and a language arts example, but there's a lot. What I want you to take away from this is that you can set up your boards ahead of time and allow students to work through this while you're kind of looking over their shoulder using this grid view so that you can see what everybody is doing and jump to different students so that they can hear from you and get help as they need it. Again, they can raise their hand, you can add stickers or feedback for them. You can even auto grade things if you have it set up like my example over here. So this is Whiteboard.chat. Again, what I want you to take away is that is an interactive whiteboard tool that allows students to work synchronously with you. They can work asynchronously, but I think a lot of the power comes in it being a synchronous type of tool, and you can correct and help as they need it. So I encourage you to take a look at this, dive in, attend one of their webinars if that would help you dig into the details a little bit more, because there's a lot more this does, but that's really the basics, and see if you could see a use for it in your own classroom. Good luck.